right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Eric's Interviews, this time 25th anniversary edition, February of 2022. I am here with incomparable James Giessler, the second CEO. Were you called CEO?
No, I was not. I was
executive director of the Wellness Community, Central Indiana. Of course, now Cancer Support Community, Indiana. If you've missed that, James.
No, I did not miss that.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me. It is now this evening. Appreciate it on this cold February evening. And you are in Massachusetts, I know. So thank you for speaking with me from across the country. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think the easiest question to ask first is, why and how did you become involved with the wellness community / cancer support community back then?
Well, I wish I had a great story to tell. I was working for Butler University at the time. I was director of corporate and foundation relations, and I had a good run, but I felt very much like I was being pigeonholed into the corps and founds, and I really wanted to learn more about major gifts and fundraising, and I really had my heart set on becoming an executive director someday. And this job opportunity came across my desk for this organization up at Keystone at the Crossing looking for a new executive director. And I thought, whoa, what the heck? I'll throw my hat in the ring and see what comes of it. And lo and behold, for whatever reason, the board decided to hire me, and never having been an executive director before. So it was a virgin experience, and I just jumped in with both feet. Made a lot of mistakes, but had a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, that's really all there is to the story. I mean, I had never heard of the organization. I don't have a cancer history. I wish I could say, my mom did this and I was so impressed. But no, I really loved the mission. I was really impressed by all they were doing. And I said, I'd love to be a part of that. And the board and I saw eye to eye, and next thing you knew, I was executive director.
Well, as we always talk about here, you're going to make mistakes when you have an entrepreneurial spirit and what you're trying to do. And, really, you and I both know this, that it's running a small business in a lot of ways and trying to figure out, where resources are going to come from to be able to operate. And in our case, obviously pay employees, but to pay employees to offer the services that we do for people in the community for free. And it can certainly be a challenge. And I know, one of your biggest legacies, I'd say, arguably, is the building that I'm sitting in right now at the Paulson Family Center in West 71st Street. And I know you were, I got a chance to interview Kathy Langham and Tina Burks a couple months ago for this session, and to talk a little bit more about the campaign specifically. But I know, that's probably one of your biggest legacies here. Tell us a little bit about what that process and the experience of going through a capital campaign was like.
Oh, to be young again. I didn't know what I was doing, but we knew we needed it. We were in tiny little cramped space in a office building at Keystone at the Crossing, and we didn't have our own restrooms, and we didn't have our own entrance, and our participants were literally walking through a gauntlet of smokers to get into the building. The other building employees would stand outside the door to smoke, and our participants would have to come in through there, and it just wasn't ideal. And we said, we've got to do better. We've got to do better for our participants. And we had some great visioning sessions and dreaming sessions, and Janet Rhodes and Sarah McCracken, we just came up with this dream, and we said, what's it going to take to make it happen? And thank God for Kathy Langham and Tina Burks, who stepped into the breach and made it happen. And we raised the money, and we found the right builder and the right architect, and they were phenomenal to work with, and brought so many partners to the table. Things like the free roof, and the stone was donated, and the kitchen was donated, and all these odds and ends of things that kept our prices down, our costs down. And when it was all said and done, it was an emotional day. It was an amazing grand opening, and I will never forget that day. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. And to share it with that board and that staff that worked so hard to create it, and then to come back as I did a couple of years ago and see that it's even better, it's even more fantastic than it was. It was just, it just warmed the cockles of my heart.
That's fantastic. Was this the only location you looked at, or did you look at other places around?
No, yeah, we looked at other properties. We looked at other buildings. We were looking at maybe retrofitting another building. We looked at an old Masonic lodge on, oh shoot, what was the name of that? Michigan Road. And we thought maybe we would just raise it and build on that site. And you know, we had all kinds of other options we were looking at, but Jay Archer, God bless him, brought this site to us and said, hey, there's one last site left here. Would you consider this? And, you know, initially we thought, why would we want to be in a, you know, commercial park? But then we came and saw the spot and we went, oh yeah, this can work. This has got everything we need. It's got the street, you know, visibility. It's got access. It's easy to get to. And the price was right, and everything just fell into place.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I don't know if you can tell, but probably not by my camera view, but I've lost some space in my office because we redid the whole staff space except for the 2 offices on the south end. So we got rid of the offices and added workstations so we could, because we ran out of space for the people that we need to be able to serve the community in which we serve. So we went through it was about a 6-week, supposed to be about 3 weeks. It was about a 6-week process late last fall to create this sort of bigger space. So next step is we're going to have to expand on some of the land that we have here, probably, if we're going to institute.
That's amazing, because we built extra offices that we didn't have people for, thinking, oh well, we'll have extra offices in case we ever get to, you know, build our staff, and we'll have plenty of extra offices. I can't believe you've run out of offices.
We did it. We had 3 people sharing an office. We had 3 offices with 3 people in it, and that's, you know, and that the COVID piece too, we try to be cognizant of giving people ample space. And
sure,
well, it's been an incredible space for hope for people, and kudos to you and the work you did to allow us the opportunity to do what we do in this space and not have to worry about fundraising to build a building. That's great. Phenomenal. So the building was probably your favorite part of your experience at Cancer Support Communities. Anything else stick out to you? The experiences that you had? That might be
the participants. I mean, God love them. I just dearly love them. We had some amazing participants come through that have touched my heart, and I will never forget. And that's, you know, and then of course the amazing people that I got to work with on the board. We mentioned Jay Archer, we mentioned, you know, Tina Burks, but John Langham, Gary Stack, Susan Matthews, Patty O'Neill. I mean, they were just amazing people to work with. And I know you probably got even more folks now involved, but we could not have done anything that we did had it not been for the amazing board that we had.
Gary Stack is he's not on the board, but he's still highly involved. John's still on the board with us here, and some of those other folks too still continue to be involved. But Gary Stack has been an incredible donor for us. He was one of the ones that helped us with the construction.
Great.
So he stepped up, and so the whole Langham family did as well. They stepped up and to help us fund that amongst other people too. But
and you know, I can't say enough either about the amazing staff. I mean, and I have to highlight particularly Sarah Anderson, who is my dearest friend and colleague, and we couldn't have done anything that we did without Sarah. She did everything from the bookkeeping to the graphic design to the calendars to the website. I mean, she was amazing. And I think the wellness community, cancer support community, owes a huge debt of gratitude to the many years of service that Sarah Anderson gave to that organization, and Lisa Porat as well, and many other people, and those phenomenal facilitators that we had over the years, whose names I will not remember because I have a terrible memory, but I loved them all. We had a great relationship there, and the staff was just amazing.
Sherry O'Brien is still with us, and she was a first
Fabulous.
interviewee for this series, as a matter of fact, because she's been our longest tenured contract employee. So she's
Wow.
still around, which is
Sherry's amazing. Yeah. And
which is
Janet,
pretty cool.
I love Janet and Susan and so many. Yeah.
Janet was here for maybe the first 2 years I was here. So I did get a chance to get to know her. She was funny lady, great professional.
Oh yeah.
Great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Got a kick out of her. And it is about the staff, and we have 18 staff members now. We're getting ready to I just made an offer letter for an office manager at our new Bloomington location.
Oh my God,
so that'll be 19.
3 of us. There were 3 of us.
Well, there were 5 of us when I started. So
okay.
We've certainly come a long way, and again, it's only because of the people that come before, and that we're able to do what we do. Because imagine having to worry about finding a suitable space, like I mentioned before, like I'm sitting in right now, and having all my time being focused on that I get to really focus on the mission, more of the mission and expansion work that we've been doing. So thanks again for that. And you've been in the nonprofit sector. I don't know where you were before Butler, but I mean, you talked about Butler, and I know after you left here, you moved out east, and then you've been in the nonprofit scene in one way, shape or another. But tell us what draws you to the work.
Well, I originally started out thinking I was going to be a professional performer. I had my undergraduate and graduate degrees in voice performance, and I thought I was going to be a professional singer and it's professor and teacher, and that didn't pan out. And I worked in the for-profit sector for a short period of time, which I learned a lot, and I don't regret it at all. But I didn't love the fact that all of my energies and efforts were going to make somebody else rich, and I said, there's got to be a more fulfilling way to live my life. And I was introduced to the world of fundraising. And I didn't even know that was a career, but I started looking into it. And it turns out I was pretty good at it. So I started out in the HIV/AIDS organization, Indiana Cares, which unfortunately no longer exists, I don't believe.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but I cut my teeth on fundraising there, and then went on to Butler, which I loved. It was my alma mater. I have a master's degree from Butler. But I really learned my craft at the wellness community, in not only in the fundraising side, but in nonprofit management. And I just found that I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I loved working with donors. I loved working with nonprofit boards. I loved the fact that when I went home at night, I knew that what I had done that day made a real impact in people's lives in a very real and tangible way. And I couldn't say that when I worked in the for-profit sector. So I've never looked back. I came out here east to work for an ALS organization, which was short-lived. The organization no longer exists. And then I went to work for a performing arts organization, which was near and dear to my heart, in choral music. I worked for the Harvard Glee Club Foundation, but now I'm working for an organization that serves gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender youth, which again is near and dear to my heart. And I love going into work every day. I love seeing the kids come in and know that they have a brave space and a safe space to be who they are and to be authentic and to grow into their authentic selves. And I can't have wished for a better way to spend my life than in service to people in need in one way or another. And I don't mean that to make myself out to be some kind of saint or something. It's what I wanted, and it's what I needed, and it's fulfilled that need for me. And I'm delighted with the career choice I made.
Well, thank you for all the work you've done over your career. It's amazing, especially with what you're doing, now, and as you move forward. So thank you very much for that. So we were talking before we started this interview about laughing matters a little bit, and you were telling me an interesting story. And I know that you I believe I remember who the first comedian was who you told me, but could you share a little bit? Where we just, we're going to celebrate our 21st
Yeah,
Laughing Matters
yeah.
this year, June 4th, with Colin Jost at Clues Memorial Hall. And but tell us about the sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, humble beginnings of
Oh, they
our
were humble. They were
Laughing
humble.
Matters.
And yeah, I know who you're referring to, but I don't think he was the first. I think he
Okay.
was maybe second or third. But
Okay.
it all started because we always celebrated laughter at the wellness community. And the event where it all started for us was an event called Giving Thanks Through Laughter, which was for our participants. It was not a fundraiser. It was a potluck dinner and an open mic night where we told stories and jokes and made each other laugh. And when we heard that our fellow TWC out in St. Louis had come up with this great event called Laughing Matters, we thought, wow, that'd be a nice pairing for Giving Thanks Through Laughter. And I don't exactly even remember who took it on or whether we did it with just staff or whatever, but we arranged with a local comedy club in Broad Ripple to be allowed to take over the comedy club on like a Thursday night. It was an off night. They would give us the club. It would allow the comedian who was coming in that weekend to test out his material and test out the room. And they got the bar, but we got the tickets. And we worked with restaurants and that to donate the food. And we had some great food donated. So it really turned into a great event. And so what we would do is we would do that event like on the Thursday. And then, I don't know, it was the Tuesday night before or the Wednesday, the same comedian who's already in town with nothing to do anyway would come to our site. And this was back when we were still at the office at Keystone at the Crossing, and come and do a set of his jokes or her jokes there in our site after our potluck dinner. And that's how it all started, very modestly. And we maybe raised 10 or 15,000 at most, with between sponsorships and ticket sales. But it was a great time. And I will never forget the year there was a young comedian. I'd never heard of him. None of us had. He was brand new in his career, very early. And he was playing the comedy club there in Broad Ripple. And he came out to our site there in Keystone of the Crossing. And he did the most amazing set. And not only was he hilarious, but his stories were so poignant. And he told stories about his grandfather. And I mean, he just really tugged at the heartstrings. And he was an amazing storyteller. And then turns out he was Kevin Hart. He went on to have a bit of a career after he left us, but that was an amazing night. And that's the way Laughing Matters was when I left. It was still just based in a comedy club. They would give us one night that we could sell tickets for whatever price we wanted. We could bring in whatever food we wanted from, donations. Bonefish Grill was our big food supplier, and they got the bar and we got the tickets, and that's the way it worked. And I'm thrilled that it took off after that and became something amazing. So congrats to you and your team there who've done this.
Well, again, we have you to thank for the groundwork and laying the groundwork, and my predecessor as well, for the idea to bring in national comedians and things like that. And so we've had some pretty great success with the event, and we hope to continue to do that moving forward with a new venue. And of course, Colin Jost, who's of SNL fame and who's never performed in Indianapolis, so this will be his maiden voyage here. So we're hopeful. We're cautiously optimistic we're going to do really well with our now general public ticket sales to that iconic venue.
Maybe for your 30th anniversary, you can bring back Kevin Hart and remind him that he was there before, back in the day.
Maybe he'll remember being at the cancer place back in the day. That's great. And again, thank you for laying the groundwork. Did it take a while to gain traction? So when you first started, did you see some growth after, the fifth time you did it? Did you see, or the same people coming back? What was how did it?
I don't even know if I did it 5 times, to tell you the truth. I may have only been there for 3 or 4, but yeah, every year it seemed to grow. I mean, it never like leaped. It was just steady. It was just kind of a nice, we were really more focused on back in those days, we were more focused on the Cancer Survivors Walk, which was we hoped would be our big event of the year, and what we called back then the Cancer Survivor Symposium, which I think you've rebranded since then. I guess Symposium was a bit of a, word. But the idea that we had at that time was that, there's a breast cancer walk, there's a lung cancer walk, there's every kind of cancer walk, but there's the orphan cancers that never get talked about, that don't have walks for, colorectal cancer or whatever. So we wanted just to celebrate survivorship with that event. And I don't know whatever happened with that or not, but that was really where we were focusing more of our efforts. And that's where we launched our capital campaign, was the weekend of the Cancer Survivors Walk, Cancer Survivors Symposium. And we had that was our 10th anniversary, big gala down in White River State Park. And we announced the campaign at that point. And that's really, we were focused way more on that than we were on Laughing Matters at the time. But once we got the capital campaign underway and we got the building built, I guess it seemed natural to find a signature event to focus on. And I'm glad you guys did it.
I come from a breakfast environment to a gala environment, which is really two different animals all together. Just trying to incorporate, what we've tried to do is try to incorporate some of the breakfast success, or the elements of the breakfast that were successful, into the Laughing Matters, and it's really kind of been a nice bit of a combination, I think, over the last 8 years that we've been doing Laughing Matters, or since I've been here anyway. And so that's been interesting. But we continue to look at the event. There's a timeline usually on events, and so we're taking a hard look at what the future looks like, to determine is Laughing Matters going to continue to be our focus and our signature event, or is it time to look at something different? I think it's a unique brand for certain, and there's no one else doing an event like this in town. So we really have a lot behind it.
I would imagine you're probably one of the larger cancer support communities in the nation right now.
We are we are moving our way up. We just last year, and we did get a bequest, so I'll asterisk this, but our budget did hit 2.4 million last year, and we take out the incredible bequest by Mrs. Thomas.
Oh, sure. Oh,
So
God, I had no idea.
And so
Eric was her son.
Yeah. Yep. And so we met her about 5 years ago, and she let us know that she had this gift in her will, and she passed last fall, and so she left us a really nice gift, as
she
well
had
as
hoped to fund and endow the garden space at one point, was what she had told me.
Got it.
Because Eric loved the outdoors, and she really wanted that outdoor garden space to be in his memory.
Well, maybe now that I know that, maybe we could we've got Eric recognized in the building. We have a really nice plaque talking about his life and etc. But maybe that might be a good idea for us to do something out there for him, but her also, just as a kind of tribute. And you take out the PPP money, we were still over 2 million last year. So we'd be in the top probably 5 of all the network. And so it's we play a leadership role on the national level too, and I think it's important for us to try to affect change, whether that be through advocacy and participating in Hill Days, joining letters to Congress, to elected officials, as we do probably once or twice a month now. We usually join some sort of a letter to affect change with some sort of legislation, and meet with our elected officials at least once a year, and their staff members. So, it's really important for us to be, really, because we can affect change in Indiana too, right?
Yeah. Well, Indiana's always had a place at the table at national, between, Vicki Kennedy and the role that she played, and Linda House and Bohannon now in the role that she played. We've always been at the table.
Yep. Well, anything else you'd like to share? I just can't thank you enough for spending part of your evening with me and reminiscing as it relates to the wellness community, or now cancer support community. And again, thank you for for your foundation that you laid to allow the rest of us to be successful.
Well, TWC, CSC, whatever you call it these days, will always have a very, very special place in my heart and in my life. They were very formative years for me as an executive director. Again, I can't thank enough the people I worked with, like Sarah and with Lisa Porat, amazing people that were there and who remain my dear friends. And I couldn't be prouder of the time that I spent there. I couldn't be prouder of what you've done. And I told you before we went on to recording here that I don't know if I'm due it, but I take a great deal of pride in every accomplishment that you have. And I read the newsletters and I think, oh my God, I can't believe what they're doing. And somehow it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy to know that that building is still there and it's still doing what it was intended to do, and that people with cancer don't have to face it alone. Anywhere in the state of Indiana now, that they can find the psychosocial and emotional support to ease their burden and to help them in this difficult journey with cancer. So kudos to you and your staff and your board, and keep up the good fight.
We will, and we have had to pivot like everyone else in the world over these last 2 years, and we have cameras and monitors in all the rooms so people can participate hybridly from anywhere around the country, really, but anywhere across the state. We know that we served more people than ever when we transitioned. As a result of that, we eliminated or at least decreased transportation or geographical barriers that might have existed otherwise for somebody to attend a Thursday night support group. So
right.
It's a new world, and the technology that's out there allows us to do that. So it's going to be an interesting next 25 years.
Well, congratulations. I can't imagine what else you could possibly do in 25 years, but go for it. Do it. All right.
James, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for involving me.
We'll see you next time on Eric's Interviews 25th.
All right, great. Thanks.